Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of What's Your Issue, a weekly comic book podcast that reviews comic books every week. And I'm just gonna have to tell you that it would just be me, Stephen Lora, here for this episode for the podcast. Aga won't be making it today because something personal happened in his life and he was not emotionally ready to be on the podcast, but he will be on the podcast next week of What's Your Issue. So look forward to seeing him next week for next week's episode. Today I'm gonna be doing things a little bit differently. I'm gonna be doing the for the review segment. I'm gonna be doing 9 issues for just instead of doing the usual 3 that I review. And I'm gonna be doing 2 for best of the week, and not gonna be doing honorable mentions. And I'm gonna do my pool, just my own pool, just my pool list. So right now, I'm gonna start with cover number 5. It's written by Brian Michael Bendis. Artist is David Mack. And Michael Avon Oeming does a little art part in the comic book. There's like a book that the character that Bendis is supposed to be, which is Owen James. His comic book has Michael Avon Oeming's art in there, so that's why he's included in the credits. The colorist is Zu Arzaru, and the letters is Carlos Mango. And in the story of this issue goes with, it first starts with Maxfield going into, he has like a dinner party with all of his friends and a whole bunch of comic creators and their wives and children. It's like a family dinner type of thing. And in there, they just have casual conversations, and there's one thing that Owen James notices about Maxfield is that he's kind of under the weather. He's not feeling comfortable in this talking with his friends here. And by the time the conversation's over, and later on, all the comic creators that were sitting on that dinner ends up getting a phone call, and they get an invite to come to some comic convention from Julia. So everyone goes to the comic convention. Everyone goes to the comic convention. They meet up with Julia, and there's a big party over there. And Max feels uncomfortable, and he tells Julia if he can move aside. And Max feels uncomfortable with what Julia's doing lately, and he's been wondering why did she invite all his friends to this specific comic convention. And Julia talks about, she tells him there's Issa Sins, the artist that in the previous issues was punching Maxfield, and he's in the comic convention, and supposedly he wasn't invited, but he's there. Julia is saying that that's the problem. He was not invited here, but he came in here anyway. So I think I need for you to talk to him and bring him to supposedly her side. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but it looks like we will see what that means in the next issue. But so far, that's what the story's about. And I decided to give this issue a 7.5 because it was okay. The thing is, the part where they had the casual conversations with with Max Field and Owen James and a whole bunch of other comic creators there in the dinner. It was a lot of casual conversation, and it went way too long. And to me, it just didn't gravitate towards me, to be honest. The casual conversations felt boring. And they just felt like words just thrown out everywhere. It just didn't feel like a smooth conversation. And Bendis has a habit of doing that sometimes. The conversations don't go as fluid. It's just a whole bunch of casual words thrown out there, and you gotta try to make some sense of conversation in there. And that part was really boring, and I just didn't enjoy that part. I do like the times that Max Field has the Japanese art style in the book, and he's thinking to his thoughts of how he's been feeling these days and how his whole life history has affected him in this moment. I like that part, and it seems like the book is gonna pick up towards the end with Julia and Owen James and Max Field talking to each other, and then there's Issa Sins in there. That the book picks up a little bit there, but then it cuts off. That's the end of the book, and it looks like it's gonna build up to something maybe great. I'm not sure. This issue and the last issue were kind of weak ones. So I'm hoping the last issue, the way the story ends, will be a much stronger issue for this series, and the next issue is the last one. So I decided to give it a 7.5. It was an okay story. Didn't do much to me. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Superior Spider-Man number 2. The writer is Christos Gage. Penciler is Michael Hanthorne. Colorist is Judy Belair. Inker is Wade Von Gonbadger. And the letters is VC Clayton Cowles. And for this issue, I gave it a 7.0. The story for this issue, I should just said that, is that Superior Spider-Man is fighting Tesseracts throughout the entire issue. And during the issue, he tries to contact Anna Maria to get his tech prepared. And during the fight, she builds a tech as he's fighting Tesseract and getting his ass whooped. Eventually, Anna Marie builds a weapon, gets to puts the weapon on Tesseracts, and there's like a big explosion, and all of a sudden, Superior Spider-Man becomes like a cosmic Superior Spider-Man, and he has to probably defeat Tesseract in the next issue. And the reason why I gave this issue a 7.0, because I don't know, this series is not doing it for me. And there's no specific reason why Tesseract is here. He's just here, and he's just destroying stuff here. And it's just destruction upon destruction. There's just, I don't know, there's just a fighting scenes with Superior Spider-Man and Tesseract. They just constantly fighting each other, and to me, the art is not that interesting. It's okay, so at best, it's just not the best art that I've seen. Yeah, it's just a simple art, nothing too flashy. What Mike Howard Thorne is doing, and I don't know, the writing's all right. I gave it a 7.0 because it's just not doing it much for me, and it's just an action issue, and to me, it doesn't seem like Otto to be getting a cosmic version of himself just to defeat Tesseract. I would see more of a tech upgrade type of thing, because To me, I've seen Otto upgrade himself with technology more than just like some type of cosmic magical thing. I don't see Otto as a way of making him to a super cosmic being to be a villain. I see more of him using technology and his intelligence to actually defeat a villain. I know there is intelligence in beating and making that tech to make him cosmic, but I don't know. I just don't feel um I could say I don't feel comfortable with him making him to a cosmic being of himself with technology. To me, it just seemed like Otto's style. And I don't know, this book is just not doing it for me. I don't know if I'm going to continue picking it up, but I'm going to try to see if another issue and see how this goes. It's not a terrible issue. I can say it's a little bit in the middle, and that's the reason why it has a 7.0. Next up is Outcast number 38. And this creative team is written by Robert Kirkman, penciler is Paul Agasicles, colorist is Elizabeth Brewster, and letters is Russ Woolton. In this issue, the villains of that fight opposite of Kyle and the people that he's fighting. I mean that he's teamed up with. There's villains like with Roland Tusk and his people. They have a meeting and they meet up with their leader. Apparently, it's a person that's higher than Roland Tusk in here. So they have their conversations, and then the story cuts off to the Reverend. He's having he's doing his church ceremony. So he's speaking to his people, and at the end, he speaks to some child called Logan Ross. Yeah, he talks about that he shouldn't fear what's going on. Just be calm and be ready for anything. If you need any way of calming yourself down, you can go talk. You could go talk to him, and there's a little I mean, after that conversation's over, there's a conversation with Kyle. They talk to each other, and Kyle is concerned about having so many people here, and he's wondering if they have enough food supply. The Reverend says we do have enough food supply because everyone's bringing their own food from wherever they're coming from. Kyle realizes that, okay, we won't worry about it since like you're prepared. Kyle talks to his wife, and he's like worried about himself because not sure he's prepared for this. He feels like he's a complete failure, and that like this whole protecting this whole all these group of people that are working for him and fighting against the villains of the story. They all worried about that, and yeah, so for this, yeah, he's worried about that, and his wife finds a way of getting through him and make him not feel like a complete failure. So there goes that, and then there's a conversation with Kyle's sister and and Simon. Talk about he doesn't have a game plan, when he said he originally did have a plan, so they have a complaint about that. And then there's a conversation with Roland Tusk and his wife, and some reason she's coughing up some black stuff which is like the evil spirit thing probably taking over her. That's what I think I've seen here. And then she's kind of worried, concerned, and Roland looks pissed off. And then it cuts off to the Reverend. They say that something's going on with Logan. Like, people that went to go see the Reverend, they speak to him that something's wrong with Logan, so they go in to go see with Logan, and he's possessed by the evil spirit. So that's how the story ends there. That's a lot of like stuff going on in this book. So sorry if it was long-winded to explain it. And I gave this issue a 7.5. It was all right. There was a lot to take in, and to me, a lot of it was a lot of casual conversations there too in here, but the casual conversations was much more organized here. So I had a little bit more fun with this issue. It's just to me, not much happened because they weren't talking about any important plot points of the story to move it forward. It was just they were just there just to be there, just to fill up the pages. I've noticed. So not much went on, and I don't know much about this Logan character. I don't remember much about him, and I think they should have discussed about more about him and who he was. But he probably could do that in the next issue. Who knows? And see what this was set up to. So it was an okay issue. Now I'm gonna be talking about Justice League number 16. The story is written by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV. Artist is Jim Chung and Steven Segovia. Colorist is Tamu Murray and Will Quintina. Inkers is Chung Morales and Segovia. And the letters is Tom Lapatiniano. And in this issue, Martian Manhunter is talking to this older Martian that he knew for years that was living on Dangar. And they're talking to each other about that there's a dark secret involved here, which is that the Dangarians here they're not really Dangarians. They're apparently the race died a long time ago, and Shahira decided to team up with this Martian and use her to create new Dangarians. And the Dangarians are now a mixture of human DNA with Martian DNA. So yeah, they're just a whole bunch of people here that she had created. They're protecting the knowledge of the universe because they felt threatened that that people are going to intervene this planet because they have collected so much knowledge of the universe in this planet. So they had to find some way to protect it. That was the only way to protect it. And there was another dark secret with Martian Manhunter that when he was in Earth, humans were experimenting on him and trying to figure out what was his powers or what he was created by, etc. Which is basically doing studies of Martians, and he did not know about. And in that issue, there's also a fight between John Stewart and the Green Lantern Corps and Shahira, Savage, Hawkman. They all fighting each other in this issue, and then John Stewart ends up convincing the Green Lantern Corps to fight on his side, and he finds a way to convince some other. So they do go on his side, and they continue to fight the Targaryens, and eventually the Martian woman that's there, totally forgot her name, she ends up getting, she's dying, and she ends up getting killed. She was slowly dying from herself. She ends up dying, and all the Dangarians ends up evaporating, and eventually you see Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and Starman. By the end of the story, they teleport to where the Dangar and whatever everyone is, and he ends up giving Hawk Girl. I just totally forgot her name for a bit. He ends up giving Kendra Saunders. He ends up giving Shahira's memories that she had in the past. He ends up giving her all her memories, and now they're supposed to be two separate people. And I don't know. They don't explain that clearly. I don't know what's there. going on there actually. I guess I have to look more into in the next issue. So yeah, and he tells the whole Justice League that he has to get ready to fix things and to come back to Earth, and we have to fix the source wall and what's been going on lately. So the issue cuts off there, and I decided to give this issue a 7.5. I gave it a 7.0. It's just I like the revelations of what the Then Guardian Prime is, what happened to it, and what it's actually become. That's the only part I did like, but they didn't go through like a lot of things weren't explained here in detail. It's like they just brushed up on it, and they expect you to, I guess, make up something from there. And I just didn't like that. I didn't like that in the issue. There's also with you in the issue where Starman comes in and he just teleports there, and he just gives he gives Kendra Saunders the memories of Shahira Hall, and he said that there's something wrong, that they're both not supposed to be here, yet he still lets them to live here. So what was the point of all that? I don't understand. Why would he give her the memories of Shahira Hall if the other Shahira Hall is still there? To me, it doesn't make any sense, because he said they're not supposed to both exist at the same time as two separate beings, but eventually he just allows that to happen for some odd reason, and that for some reason it's not explained. To me, it seems like he was going to merge the two into one being, but he doesn't do that. He just does the opposite. So the conversations were kind of weird, and I don't know, for some reason I did not get what the hell was going on. So yeah, it seems like they were explaining some things, but not the full picture of the story. They're just giving you a brief explanation of what's been going on here. And it was kind of, I guess you can say, half-assed with the storyline here. So I wish things were explained in more detail. That's why I didn't enjoy it as much. The art was pretty impressive. I like the art here. I did like the fighting scenes with Jon Stewart and the Green Lantern Corps fighting Shahira and Savage Hawkman and the other Hawkmen. That was pretty cool, but yeah, the art was pretty cool. It's just that the story felt kind of flat to me. There wasn't much interesting story points for this issue. That's all I have to say for this one. And the next issue is Teen Titans Go number 32. So Teen Titans, this next book I'm talking about is Teen Titans number 32. This book is usually split by two stories. So there's going to be two sets of creative teams for this issue. And the creative team for the first one starts with the writer is Amanda Debert. The artist is Erich Owen, and the letters is Wes Abbott. For the second story is Jay Torres for the writer. The artist is Angie's Garboska, and the colorist is Franco Riesco, and the letters is Wes Abbott. That's what it is for this book. And so yeah, the first story is about the Teen Titans. They have a skiing vacation, so they end up going to do some skiing. They end up going to having a skiing event vacation, and they go over there, and for some reason Raven doesn't feel comfortable because she starts thinking about her past, where she burned the snowman that she created when she was a little child. I guess a younger child than she is in this series. So she doesn't feel comfortable, so she decides to walk out and be to herself. And Cyborg and Beast Boy decide to spend their time separately, and Starfire and Robin spend their time separately. Beast Boy and Cyborg do their little skiing. They do some skiing on the snow, and Beast Boy hurts himself. He has some boogers coming out of his nose, and it cuts off to Robin making snow bunnies for Starfire, and his hands get frozen. He's all like full with ice, like he's getting frozen. And eventually, for some reason, there's like an avalanche, and all running behind Robin and Starfire, and the the boogers end up going on the snow bunnies, and they're like taking over the snow bunnies. They come sentient or alive, I should say. Yeah, they come alive and they start attacking the Teen Titans. And the Teen Titans decide to come up with hot cocoa and just use the hot cocoa on the snow bunnies to melt them. And then by the end of the story, Raven comes with a whole bunch of friends, and she's having fun skiing with them, and she says she had a good time and she wants to do this again for the next weekend. So that goes the end of that story. And then the second story, it deals with Cyborg and Beast Boy. They're in the streets. Beast Boy and Cyborg, they're singing like a Frosty the Snowman kind of song. It's just, instead of Frosty the Snowman, it's Friendly the Snowman. And they decide to come up with an idea to make their own Friendly the Snowman. In the issue, they end up deciding to tell Raven, Robin, and Starfire they're gonna make a snowman, Friendly the Snowman. And for some reason, Starfire, Raven, and Robin don't want to participate, so they leave. So it's just Beast Boy and Cyborg building a snowman, and they try to build a snowman the best they can. And they notice that the snowman doesn't come to life, so they end up finding a magic hat from Mumbo and putting on the snowman. And the snowman is he's like some jerk with a frozen heart, and it just turns into like a non-friendly snowman. And what is it? He doesn't, like the snowman doesn't like the way that Beast Boy and Cyborg built him, because he has a pickle for a nose and a wooden spoon with a spatula on the other. And he has pennies for his eyes, and he doesn't like the way he was created. So he ends up leaving, and Cyborg and Beast Boy end up going outside and see that he got melted. And what is it? They end up. Well, it wasn't just a magic hat that they was using. They were also using Raven's magic. And when the snowman gets destroyed, Raven finds out that they were using her magic, and she was pissed off. And it's just like, oh, this is. I hope you guys learn a lesson from all this. Beast Boy and Cyborg, they decide to not care. They decide to make some pickle friends. I guess that's how the issue ends. Some comedy relief there, I can say. So that's how the issue ends. I decided to give this together an 8.0. I really did enjoy these issues. They were very funny. I really liked how in the first issue, the first story was that I really did enjoy the hot cocoa burning all the bunnies, melting them. I thought that was pretty funny. And Robin making all the snow bunnies for Starfire, that was pretty funny. So I really did enjoy the first story a lot. I enjoyed the second one too. There was a lot of funny moments with the way Beast Boy and Cyborg had to get all the items that they didn't necessarily have. They didn't have any carrots, so they got a pickle, and they had pennies for eyes and the spoon, the spatula. It was just really funny there. And I did like that the snowman ended up being a jerk. That was pretty funny in there. So they had a lot of funny humor in these two stories, and I enjoy that. So that's why I gave it an 8.0. The next issue is Shazam number 2. The writer is Jeff Johns. Penciler is Marco Santucci. The colorist is Michael Aye, and the letters is Robert Lay. The story starts with Billy Batson, his father, talking to the foster parents about that he wants to take his son back, and yeah, he wants to have ownership of take custody of his son and live a life with him. And the foster parents are just uncomfortable with the situation was going on because they didn't know that Billy Bass's father was around, and they just feel weird that he just come here and asking for Billy. So the foster parents decide to try to see if asking Billy what does he really want, because they don't know what to do. The foster means Billy's Basson's foster children still, not foster parents want to have they want to have Billy still, and they don't want to give him up so quickly. So they go to the room and notice that the kids are gone. So they cut off. The scene gets cut off there, and Billy and all the other children, with Eugene and Freeman and Mary and all the Shazam kids, basically. They go to the train. Yeah, they discover this train that takes them to Funland, which is like some type of carnival. By the end of the story, they end up meeting some guy in the end of the story called Kid King, and that's where the story cuts off. But also in the story, there's also a scene where Dr. Savannah is talking to Mr. Mine in his ear. Mr. Mine is in his ear, and they're having a conversation about some magical book that's supposed to, like, I think, yeah, it's supposed to give him some magical powers. And they went to the doctor because Dr. Savannah was supposed to get checked up, and he ends up attacking the doctor when the magic power ends up coming out from the book. So they have that goes on as well, and that's about it for the story so far. I gave this issue a 8.0. I really did enjoy it a lot. I mean, I really did like the relationship between all the Shazam kids. All the kids there, they're having a good time in Funland. The conversations are very fluid. They get along. You get to know all their different personalities. They're all different, and they figure stuff out. They have their good time in Funland, and the dynamic between the characters were very fluid. I actually enjoyed that part, and I had fun with it. And I'm wondering how Billy's father being here will affect the relationship between, the life that he has with his foster parents and his, foster brothers and sisters, or I should say adopted brothers and sisters. How is he gonna really go with his father, or is he gonna stay with his foster parents and his adopted brothers and sisters? Is he gonna stay there? I wonder how it's gonna affect them the next issue. And I don't know if the foster parents are gonna find out that they have magical powers or stuff like that, because apparently they're not in their rooms, and the parents end up where they have been. So we'll see what happens with that in the next issue. I'm looking forward to that. And I wonder what's gonna be going on with Dr. Savannah and Mr. Mime. I'm wondering what's gonna be happening over there. We'll see what this goes on with this book. I really did enjoy it. It was very fun, entertaining. The art was very well done as well. It's very well detailed. Nothing goes on detailed here. I really like the art that Marco Santucci is drawing here. Sorry if I said the name wrong, but yeah, it was a very fun book to me. I enjoyed it a lot. Now is Star Wars number 60. The book is written by Karen Gillan. The artist is Angel Uzia. Colorist is Guru EFX. And the letters is VC's Clayton Cowles. In this issue, it starts with the squadron stormtroopers. They're fighting Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker finds a way to talk to Tula, and she gives him a smoke bomb, and they use a smoke bomb as a distraction. The Tula's father, he ends up telling the stormtroopers to go hunt him and run after him, and then the whole team ends up splitting up. Tula, Leia, and Han end up going to the village to get their weapons ready to go. No, they decide to not to get their weapons ready. They decide to prepare a ship to escape the moon and gather all the people that live in this moon. And Luke Skywalker and Dane Makona, which is Tula's father and the ruler of this moon here. Yeah, they end up having conversations, and Luke Skywalker asks him how did he obtain this moon, and why supposedly the Empire never took over. In this story, he finds out that he was working for the Empire, but he said he doesn't know why they want this moon. They paid him to build a civilization here in this moon, and just build a civilization and just live here among people. There's like a whole bunch of people that live in this moon, and I guess that's pretty much it. Apparently the Empire they just paid him to have this moon here, this ownership, and that's about it. But they said that for some reason the Empire never came here. They forgot about this moon, and it was not fully explained there. So they talk about the moon, how the reason why. They talk about how he got the moon. So they end up having conversations there, and then Luke and Thane, they ended up meeting with everybody else to go to the ship. And Thane decides to stay behind, and he says he's gonna fight the squadron by himself. Yeah, he's gonna fight the Squadron by himself, and everybody goes into the ship and leaves the moon, and they leave Dane Makona in there, and that's where the issue ends off. I gave this issue a 7. Yeah, I gave it a 7.5. I thought it was okay. The art is really impressive here. I do like Angel Usena's art here, but the story itself is kind of meh, because I didn't like when Dane and Luke Skywalker are talking and he explains his mission of the moon. It's just not fully explained here. It's just they give details but not full details, and that just seems again half-ass. I don't like when they're trying to explain something and they don't give you the full story. It's just whatever. It's just like, okay, they say that the Empire paid him to take over this moon here, to build a civilization here, but the Empire never came here and did anything for them. It's like, what was the point of that then? If it's like, okay, we paid you to live here, but the Empire never comes and check up on this place, get any food or supplies or any materials. That doesn't seem to make any sense here. I think if the Empire were to tell a certain person to, take over this planet and build a civilization here, and I thought there would be some type of deal involved, like there would be some trading involved. That's how things work for when they tell you to take, I'll let you have, you know, ownership of this planet, and I'll take the trading off of you. I take the resources, and we make exchanges of each other. It's like supposed to be some type of treaty, but there isn't any of that. They just paid them to take over this moon, and then never bothered to, have any relations with them. It doesn't make any sense to me. To me, there has to be a reasoning for this. Well, he said that there was supposed to be, Dane said there's supposed to be a mission here, but he doesn't know what the mission is. Like that, come on, that's half-ass. Explain, at least explain what the mission is here. Don't just say, "Oh, you're gonna explain why is he here on this moon and why nobody's ever taken over," and when you don't explain it. To me, this seems kind of. It's something I was really looking forward to the story to be explained, and then it doesn't end up being explained. So that's what disappoints me here. It's just brushed off here. It's like they couldn't come up with an explanation when the story came up to it. So I didn't enjoy that aspect of the story, and the action just kept getting delayed. I mean, I didn't like that in here either. It's like, oh, let's just throw a smoke bomb because the squadron's gonna, fight us, and they run away to a ship. It's like instead of fighting off the squadron's only like 5 people. Why do they need a ship to escape from 5 people? They could just defeat them and then run off. Or I don't understand the whole point of escaping. I don't know. This story was okay. I decided to give it a 7.5, and I don't know. I just was kind of disappointed how it turned out. It wasn't all that exciting for me. I think I might even change the score here. Now that I explain it, I would give it a 7.0 because the art is decent. The stories wasn't terrible, but it's just okay. Nothing really happens here. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen in the next issue. I wonder how that concludes, and I'm hoping that there's actually some type of conversation with the squadron. It's just, I'm getting sick and tired of them appearing in this series and they have no personalities. It seems like I don't know much about them, and they've been in this series. They have appeared at least 3 times, and they have not explained who these characters are in much detail. It's just brushed off, and there's some characters with cool designs. I want distinct personalities from these characters, and I'm not getting any of that. So that just bores the hell out of me, and I'm kind of disappointed. So I gave it a 7.5 because things happen here, but it's not terrible happenings. It's just okay. So it's a lot of disappointments here. Now I'm going to be talking about Sideways number 12. The book is written by Shane Davis, Michelle Declan, and Dan DiDio. The artist is Kenneth Rocafort. Colorist is Hi-Fi and Daniel Brown. And letters is Dave Sharp. This story here starts with Derek. It's like an aftermath with the buildings exploded. There's like a science organization that Derek's mother worked in, and the people that killed his mother, they went to go capture Derek and do some experiments on him, and they try to find out about the dark multiverse, that he has the power that he possesses within himself. As they're forcing the portals to be open in the story, the building is blown up, and Derek is the only one that survives apparently, and the detective Tompkins ends up going upstairs to the building and see what's going on. And he sees Derek there. He gets him out, and they decide to have a conversation about what went on. Like, what's this destruction going on here in this building? Derek explains it to him. He explains that the people that killed his mother, they try to force him to open this portal. As they're forcing him, the portal to be opened, the explosion happens, and there's like a whole bunch of monsters trying to attack the area. Yeah, the monsters come in. He opens the portal. The monsters come in, and the whole explosion happens, and everything turns into a black hole. Everything gets sucked in, and Sideways is saved by the he's like a watcher type of guy that watches what happens in all the dimensions of what's going on. So yeah, he ends up saving Derek and ends up closing the portal. That's what Derek explains to the detective, and the detective said that okay, I'll put in the case file, and yeah, I guess he'll put it on his case file that Derek ends up was tortured there, and the whole explosion happened. I guess that's what he'll end up putting in his case file. Derek, in the end of the story, ends up talking to his adoptive father, his foster father. They end up having conversations about what they're planning to do, because the thing is, the father, he never wanted to have a child. It was more of his wife. His wanted to have a child. It was more of her thing, and he never necessarily cared for it. So, but now she's dead, and he doesn't know what to do with Derek. So he decides to, in order to have a life here, I'm gonna need someone to help me here. So he decides to get Derek's biological mother, and he brings her into his life. She knocks on the door, and she says hi, and the issue cuts off there. I gave this issue an 8.0. I really did enjoy this issue. There were some nice conversations with the detective and Derek. I did like how the detective actually figured out that Sideways is Derek. I mean, he's supposed to be a detective, and I've always liked how detectives are always able to know who these characters are with just by their personalities, the way they behave. And I thought that was an interesting way of him finding out. I also did like the conversation with Derek's foster dad, and they talk about how Derek's foster mother, how much of important person she was in his life, how much he cared and wanted to have a child, and he didn't want to have a child. He was more. I like that they actually explained of what they're gonna do with each other, and there was some nice tender moments in here. And I also did, yeah. So I did like that. The art was pretty nice. I did like Kenneth's art here. He really made it more, very detailed. There was good facial expressions here, and the colors are really nice too. I just really enjoyed this issue, and I'm hoping that now that the next issue is the final issue, I'm wondering if, like, how they're gonna conclude this whole entire story. Because now that the story ends up here with his actual biological mother, I wonder how that's gonna affect him. And I don't know. I'm kind of, there's one thing I am disappointed about, is that the people who worked for Derek's mother, that worked with Derek's mother, I was hoping for something to escalate and see why they wanted why they wanted the power to go into the dark multiverse. What did he want to find out about it? It just seems kind of weird that we get to this plot point and they end it with just that they end up getting killed off in the explosion, or they maybe got sucked into a black hole. No one knows what happened to them. So I guess the writers, the people of the story that created the story, they just wanted to I think they just wanted to find a way to conclude the story without feeling rushed. I mean, and some because I know the next issues will be a final issue, so they don't want to leave any dangling plots, like plots unfulfilled. So I guess that's the only way they could unfulfill it, just kill the scientists and the people that work there off, I guess, or leave it up in the air. Maybe they'll come if there some point of in a later time in this, I guess, universe. I don't know if Sideways is gonna end up getting a series ever again in history. So we don't know what's gonna happen to this character after this is over. I'm looking forward to what's gonna happen in the next issue. And lastly, I'm gonna be talking about is Ninjas. Is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 90. It's written by Kevin Eastman, Bobby Carnell, and Tom Waltz. Artist is Michael Dianelas, and colors is Rhonda Pattison, and the letters is Sean Lee. In this story, the Ninja Turtles and the Mutanimals, they end up having a funeral for Slash since he died in the previous issues. And Michelangelo has his speech talk about how Slash was an important person in their life, how he affected them in all kinds of ways. And he's emotional about it. And then Hob comes in and interrupts his speech, talk about how he wants revenge, on Bishop. He wants to kill him off because he didn't like that he killed Slash. Slash is a very important person in his life, and he didn't like that he, killed him off in some sort of way. And they, Michelangelo and Hob has some disagreements, and Hob decides to tell people if you're either with him or not, and then it cuts off to Bishop getting ready, and Metalhead ends up meeting with Bishop, and he wants to work together with him to, I guess, fight the Ninja Turtles. I don't know what's gonna go on there. And April, there's another moment there. After that cuts off, there's a moment with April and her parents. April's moving into her new apartment, and she brings all her stuff there. And then that part cuts off to the Ninja Turtles. Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo, and Donatello. They're all talking to each other, and they don't know what to do about this point that Hob came up with. It started to put them in all types of sorts of moods. They end up having disagreements with each other. Michelangelo wants to fight Bishop, find a way to take him down, but not kill him off. Raphael feels like wanting to, kill him off because he doesn't like what's going on here. He wants revenge as well. He agrees with Hob and understands how he feels. And Leonardo and Donatello, they don't know how to feel the situation. They do understand both Michelangelo and Raphael's points, and apparently Raphael decides that we're not gonna, kill Bishop. We always just leave the city and have our own lives and move on from what's been going on. Run away from your problems, kind of type of thing. And I don't know, for some reason Leonardo doesn't agree with that, and he thinks that we should talk to Father and talk to Splinter and figure out what should we do about the situation with Bishop. And they end up the conversation cuts off there, and it cuts to Splinter having a VCR and setting up a movie for the kids. He ends up getting some flashback scenes where the Ninja Turtles talk about great martial artists that they have seen in movies in the past. And then by the end of that, Karai comes in and says that she wants to take the foot back away from Splinter. So that's how the story ends there. I gave this issue a 8.0. I did like this issue a lot. There were some great moments with. I did like the arguing that went on with Hob and the Ninja Turtles in the later point of the issue, and I did have like those conversations because they were arguing with good valid points, and they didn't make you choose a side here. It's like the Ninja Turtles didn't know what to do. Honestly, they don't know if they should kill Bishop or they should not kill Bishop, or they should just leave altogether. And I thought that was an interesting conversation because in the past issues, they used to be against killing from Splinter, but now that life has been a different point of their lives, yeah, now that life has evolved to a different point, they are changing the way their thinking patterns are, and they no longer are in this like they're not all in one side. Like, oh, should should killing be the right thing to do, or should not be killing be the right thing to do? They do see both point side of the view, and they're not all on one side and one on the other. They're like in the middle and type of things, and the grieving of Slash is affecting them in some really deep way that they never been affected of before. Because before they didn't agree with Splinter's ways of killing villains because they didn't have someone close to that was taken away in their life. I mean, they had someone who they care about life taken away. But now that they do, it's changing their behavior and their habits or the way of their thinking. And I like the way that it affects them in some sort of way that they never thought of before. So I actually appreciate that for this issue, and that's what made me like it a lot. So I'm hoping I want to see what the next issue is going to entail with what they're going to planning to do. The only part I did not like is with Metalhead. I don't understand why is he a villain, because he's supposed to have the persona of Donatello. I mean, he's the original memories of Donatello, and I don't like the path that he went. Like, the whole he went crazy type of thing, and there's like the whole old cliche of, oh, once you make an AI of something, it becomes evil. I really get tired of that cliche, and I want a more of a humanity aspect when it comes to AIs. I don't like the whole, oh, you make an AI of something and it automatically becomes bad. It's just, I just don't see it makes sense here. If that's supposed to be Donatello, he should act like Donatello. It should be any different. Then it's like let's make him some evil Donatello because he's an AI and that's what AIs are. They're just evil people. I don't agree with that. I do think that if AIs were created here, I think that it should have some type of human personalities, because that's how high. I mean, that's how intelligent beings are. They have, once they reach a certain level of intelligence, they have free will and have good and bad thoughts, and they become a certain sort of intelligent being, and there's some human emotions evolved that make them human, something like that. And I don't like that seeing that with Metalhead. He's just one dimensional instead of 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional type of person. And he should be if he was originally Donatello in an AI body. So it doesn't make any sense here. So I don't know what they're gonna do here. I wish Metalhead was actually written better. I know he was in the previous Ninja Turtle. He was in the Ninja Turtle spin-off with TMNT Universe, and that series was never good for me. It's just for some reason, whatever Kevin Eastman and Tom Waltz are not writing Ninja Turtles, it becomes crap. And for some reason, Tom Waltz and Kevin Eastman decided to bring that story that happened in Ninja Turtles Universe of Metalhead, bring it over here, and it just doesn't flow well to me. I don't know. It's just something I'm not particularly agreeing with for his plot point. So now I'm going to move on and talk about the best issues of the week. And the first one is going to be Uncanny X-Men #1. It's written by Ed Bryson. Artist is Carlos Gomez. Colorist is Guru at EFX. And letters is VC Joe Caramagano. I think that's how you say it. And with this issue, it starts off with Cyclops coming out of the grave, and then it cuts off there, and it's like a flashback scene where Cyclops was in the street, and there's like some machine robot thing, and is attacking a whole bunch of people, and Cyclops tries to attack it, and he ends up defeating he finds out the person who's controlling the robot. He knocks down the technology that's controlling the thing, and he gets him arrested. And Cyclops ends up talking to this student. The student ends up talking to him, and the student, he thanks Cyclops for saving his life, and tells him that that he's the one that got the professor that made this robot fired from college because he was doing some illegal stuff that wasn't appropriate for the school. So he got arrested, and it cuts off to a scene in the future, and you see young Cable talking to the student the student's name is actually Paul. So young Cable and Paul is actually talking to each other, and he wants him to resurrect Cyclops. And the only way to resurrect him is if using this type of machine that he Iron Man, the machine that Iron Man created, Avengers X-Men, to defeat Cyclops. At one point in time, the machine got destroyed and failed. So, young Cable asked Paul to, create this weapon. It's like supposed to be like a Phoenix Mother Box kind of thing, and it's supposed to resurrect. It's supposed to resurrect Cyclops. So they build technology. They build the box, and they wait into a point in time where Cyclops did die. After he dies, after the whole Inhumans vs. X-Men thing, and everyone leaves, so Cyclops is resurrected from. No, they end up taking his body after everyone leaves. And after the cemetery, after they go bury him and have the X-Men have a speech about Cyclops, etc. After that's over, young Cable and Paul end up taking Cyclops' body, and they end up bringing him back alive with the machine. And after that, they end up putting the machine in his body, and then they put the body back into the coffin, and they wait until a certain time where Phoenix leaves Jean Grey and goes into Cyclops' body. It's supposed to send a signal to the Phoenix, and Phoenix comes in and resurrects Cyclops. And after that happens, Cyclops finds out that he's alive again, and after they resurrect Cyclops, Paul, younger Cable, and Cyclops end up having a conversation, and Paul ends up talking to Cyclops how much he is an important person in his life because he saved his life in that particular moment back then. and he wants to take him for that, and that's what he ends up doing. Then the story ends up fast forwarding to 1 week later, and young Cable and Cyclops are talking to each other, and young Cable decides to explain to Cyclops why he brings him back alive, and he explains to him why he has the younger Cyclops' memories. He explains all that to him, and then the story cuts. Oh, he also tells him you two have to come up with a choice in here. You either go save the X-Men from what's been going on in the previous issues on Uncanny X-Men, where Legion has been taken over by X-Men and fighting all the X-Men, either to save them or to save Paul and his family, because the professor that Cyclops fought in that flashback is gonna kill kill Paul and his whole entire family. So Cyclops decides to save Paul instead of saving the X-Men, and so yeah, he decides to do that. Yeah, Cyclops decides to save Paul and his family and take the villain down and get him, knock him out. After he takes him down, he decides to he finds out that the X-Men are gone. He doesn't know what to do. Cyclops doesn't know what to do. He's gonna try to figure out a way to bring them back in here. So he's gonna figure out what actually happened to the X-Men in that explosion that happened in the last issue of Uncanny X-Men. That's where the issue ends off. I do like this issue a lot. I gave it a 9.0. The reason why I like this issue a lot and I gave it the best, like one of the best issues of the week, is because I do like Cable's reasoning of why, Cyclops deserved to be alive, because he should never been dead in the first place. And I actually agree with that. The whole Inhumans versus X-Men thing was, it kind of didn't make any sense to me, because in the end of Uncanny X-Men with Bendis, there's a whole Martin Luther King moment with Cyclops, and they're supposed to have their rights and all this. It was like a Martin Luther King Day, but for mutants with Cyclops, and I really did like that moment. And I didn't like how after Secret Wars, everything fast forward to how Cyclops was some type of villain, and they try to explain it in Humans vs. X-Men. It still didn't make any sense of why he's a villain when he was trying to actually stop the whole fight with the X-Men and the Inhumans, and he ends up getting killed off in the middle of it. So it just didn't make any sense for him to be a so-called villain, and it was just a weird, terrible story moment there. And I agree that, Young's Cable said that, Cyclops should never been killed off, that he could have done something for the mutants, and mutants could have finally be accepted to this world as human beings. And I accept that. I mean, I actually agree with that. I actually like that moment there. And Cyclops is the only person that could set the mutants right and fix what's going on with humanity and mutants. So I did like that part, and I did like seeing Cyclops saving saving humans there, because he's a type of, you could see why he's a leader figure and why he's very smart and tactical the way he fights, and he they actually show his intelligence there, and I actually appreciate that. I really liked how Ed Bryson wrote this series. I mean, this particular issue, not series. Because I've not been liking Uncanny X-Men ever since the relaunch started. This whole new series has been releasing weekly. I don't know. I know it's supposed to be Ed Bryson, Kelly Thompson, and Matthew Rosenberg, which I'm not really a fan of Matthew Rosenberg, the way he writes his stuff so far lately. I don't know. None of his books so far has I've not been liking. It doesn't gravitate towards me in a positive way. It seems like bad writing to me. And now that he's teamed up with Kelly Thompson and at Bryson, the writing feels very different, and I don't like the way the writing is capitalized here. It's just the writing isn't good for me. So I noticed in this particular issue, it's just Ed Bryson. I love Ed Bryson's writing, the way he writes characters. So he seems like he knows them well. He does the research. It seems like to me he does the research and he knows the characters' personalities. That's what I feel like Ed Bryson's a great writer. And now that he wrote this issue by himself, it feels different. The writing is more thoughtful and complex, and the characters are acting the way they are supposed to be. And I do appreciate the way he wrote Cyclops here and the reasoning for young Cable of why he thinks Cyclops should be alive. I did like those moments. So I like this issue here because of that. And I also like the art that Carlos Gomez actually draws here. It's solid, not anything detailed. I even like the flashback scenes there. The art was different there, and this was not even drawn by a different artist when it came to those flashbacks, and I like that. And he made the arts look different. It's like old comic book art style in the flashback, and then the present time there's modern art style, and I like the way you could differentiate from that. The colors look good too. From Guru, the person there had good art stuff. I mean, like the colors were very well done in there. They're very expressive there, and yeah, so it was a very well done book. That's why I gave it a 9.0. So that's all I can say about this book. I wish Ed Bryson was writing the Uncanny X-Men by himself, but he really isn't. So I don't know if I'll be picking up Uncanny X-Men after this. I'll give it another try. I didn't like the series before, and I decided to pick this specific one because I want to see how Cyclops comes back alive, and that was my reasoning to pick up this issue. I'm not sure I'm gonna pick up the next issue because it could be the same writing team and art. Yeah, it's the same creative team that's been writing the series weekly, and I don't necessarily like the writing in there. So the next series I want to talk about is American Carnage number 3. This is my second best of the week. I thought this was much better than Uncanny X-Men Annual number 1. It's written by Brian Hill. Leonardo Fernandez is the artist. The colorist is Dean White. And the letters is Paul Brazio. This is from Vertical Comics. In this story, the story starts with Richard Wright. He's actually walking in the street and he runs into these whole bunch of group of white guys, like there's some type of gang. They beating up this black kid, and what is it? The white guy, there's a specific one guy that ends up putting the gun towards Richard's head. He pointed the gun at him, and he asks him if do you want to get involved and watch this person get shot or get beat up in front of you. Like they want to, like, the whole story with this is that back in the first issue of American Carnage, this cop Richard, he killed a black man by accident, and he was accused of being racist because he's the thing is he's actually, in this issue you find out that Richard is actually mixed. He's not just white. I mean, he looks white on the outside, but he's actually mixed of, he's half black and half white, but no one knows that about him, and they just look at the color of his skin. They do talk about that here when he talks to his boss in the issue after the whole after the whole gang fight, the scene cuts off to him talking to his boss about undercover assignments, and he talks about his race and his boss thinks he's crazy, that he has some identity issues. He doesn't really see that he's half black and half white. But anyway, before that, in the gang fight, Richard is caught in between whether he should save this black kid getting beat up by a bunch of white people, a whole bunch of the gang of white guys there, and he tries to save him, and the black kid ends up saving himself. He ends up killing all the white guys that were jumping him. He ends up grabbing the gun from the guy that was pointing the gun at Richard, and as that's going on, Richard says that you can run away. He's not involved in this, this thing that went on here. You can run away. You don't have to. Because the thing is, the black kid ends up pointing the gun at him. And Richard decides to tell him to put the gun down. You can run away. You don't have to be here. You can just act like this didn't happen. He was not involved with this. He wanted to, walk away from the situation. He didn't want to be part of it. He was not involved with these white guys jumping on him. And the kid ends up getting scared and ends up trying to shoot Richard. And Richard decides to defend himself because that's the way he, is already trained, prone into his mind since he's been a cop, to defend himself. So he pulls out his gun and shoots the black kid, and the black kid ends up getting killed. And Richard's like, God damn it. Why are they doing this to me? Why are they putting me in these, why is life putting him in situations that he doesn't know what to do? He's not a racist, and he's putting into situations that make him look like a racist. And the thing is, people don't know that he's half black and half white. They just think he's just a white cop that likes to kill black people. So he doesn't like that he's getting put into these situations. So as this goes on, Richard doesn't know what to do in this situation. So he decides to call his lawyer. And the lawyer said that she's gonna send someone to pick him up, and she'll see what they can do with the situation that happened here. She sends someone, and someone comes in to pick up Richard. He's wearing some mask of Obama, some scary Obama mask. He goes to he tells Richard to take a picture of him with the gun pointing at the white kid that pointed the gun at him earlier. So he tells to take a picture of that. They take a picture and decide to go to the lawyer's house. And Richard decides to talk to the lawyer, talk about he doesn't like what's been going on, being put in these situations where he feels uncomfortable. And he doesn't like what's been going on here. And he feels like the lawyer has been setting him up for something. And as the conversation's been going on, some shootout happens. There's a shootout in the lawyer's house. It's like guns are blazing in there, and the lawyer tells Richard to go check up on her daughter to see what's been going on, to see if she's okay. And he went to go check up on her, and she seems okay. He was protecting her as the shootout was going on. And after the shootout's over, he goes downstairs and tells the lawyer that your daughter's okay. She seems fine now. And the shootout was over. They left after after they destroyed everything. The people just left, I think. That's how they show the issue here. They noticed that when they go outside, there's a cross with fire. And Richard decides to ask the lawyer if she has any idea who's starting in this, and she said, yes, I do. And also on the issue, there's also a moment where Richard's friend, a close friend that he knows, apparently the last issue, she ends up getting drugged. Richard and his friend went to a restaurant to have a conversation, and she ends up drinking something and it knocks her out. She got poisoned from something that was put into the drink. And after she gets out of the hospital, she talks to her boss and saying that is Richard try to kill you, and she doesn't believe it. She doesn't think that Richard tried to kill her. Is that he was caught in this situation that's been going on, and she doesn't think that Richard killed her. And the person she's talking to thinks that you're just being some type of bias or something's wrong with you. I think your friend did try to kill you, something like that. But she said that I'm gonna go home. I'm fine. I don't think my friend tried to kill me. I think I'll be totally fine and figure out what's been going on with Richard and this lawyer. So that's what also happens in this issue, and that's how it ends. This is how the story. That's how the story is for this issue. I get this issue a 9.5 because the action is very intense here. I like how Richard is put into these situations where he, like what I said earlier, how he isn't a racist, but he's put into these situations that makes it look like he is a racist. And I do like the whole political aspect of this book, how people view things based on just looking at the color of the skin and not knowing what the person actually comes from. I mean, the things genetics are weird in some sort of way, where a person could be he could have a black mother and a white father, and genetics make it in one way that he looks like a white person, or he may look like a black person, or he might look like a person who's actually mixed. Genetics are weird in some kind of way that the outcome isn't always that the person looks mixed on the outside. And society doesn't view things that way. They just, they look at things based on skin color. So whatever your skin color is, they think that's the only part that you are. I mean, like, they think that Richard is white and only white. He's not, just because his skin color is white. They don't see the mixed features. They just look at the skin color instead of the hair or the eyes or any other minor details that establishes him as a mixed race human. So now that he's put into these situations that kills people that are black, and he's getting caught in between them, and they think that he's some racist white cop that deserves to be killed. And it's just, this book is talk about the thesis of being racist of white people and how people view it these days, and what's the controversy between that and what goes on with racism in this country. And not just I know the main theme is for white people here, but they also do talk about racism in other particular races as well. And it doesn't take any sides. That's what I like about this book. It's very political, and it explains everything that goes on here. And it's very crazy. The action is very well done. I do like the art detail in here. It's just a very phenomenal book. I think it's the best vertical book that's out now. And it does political things right. And that's what I like about this book, because most people that make political books, it's just one-sided, and I don't agree. I don't like when politics are given in a one-sided view, because it makes you choose a side here. And I mean, like, you only given one viewpoint, and you only see one viewpoint, and you don't see the negatives of that viewpoint. It's just saying, oh, this is right, without explaining why is it right. And here, they actually explain both situations, and you decide which political movement in this book is right for you. It doesn't pit you into one side instead of bringing two sides of the story. And I liked what's been going on here, and it's talking about its relevance to what's going on in today's world, and it's very engaging when it comes to that. And I really like what's going on here. So That's why I decided to put it as the best book of the week and gave it such a high score. And there goes the end of my best of the week segment. And now I'm going to be talking about my pull list here. The pull list is my this week's pull list will be Detective Comics number 997, The Flash Annual number 2, The Flash number 63, Action Comics 1007, Justice League Annual number 1, Spider-Man and Deadpool number 45, Miss Marvel number 37, Teen Titans Annual number 1, Batgirl number 31, Captain America number 7, Star Wars Dr. Arthur number 28, Doctor Strange number 10, Batman Beyond number 28, Terrifics number 12, Justice League Odyssey number 5, Marvel Knights 20th Anniversary number 6, which is a final issue, Deadman Logan number 3, X-Force number 2, Man Without Fear number 5, which is also a final issue of a miniseries, Exiles number 12, which is another final issue of this series as well, of Exiles. I'm also going to be picking up Raven, Daughter of the Darkness number 12, which is also a final issue of the series, Books of Magic number 4, Silence number 13, and Age of X. There's also Age of X-Men, Alpha number 1, on the Unstoppable Wasp number 4, Mysteries of Love in Space number 1, which is a DC Valentine special book. Then there's Journeys into the Unknown's World number 1, which is another Marvel, just one of those old Marvel books where there weren't superheroes in the 50s, I think. Yeah, they're doing a whole bunch of one-shots of those, so I decided to pick that one up. And finally is Scooby-Doo Team Up number 46. And I might try to review that one because it's the end of the storyline. And I might try to review the final issues. We'll see which one comes out the best, and I'll put whatever I couldn't review in the honorable mentions. So that's my pull list. We'll see what Aga comes up with for next week. I don't know what his pull list is going to be. He didn't discuss that with me yet, so we'll see how that goes, and you can look forward to the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Hopefully we will get to see you next week and enjoy the next week's show. So talk to you guys and see you then later.